chats. We have another story here,
Oh, we
and
do.
it has a legal bent to it, so it's perfect that we have legal mindset here for it. So we're just gonna jump straight into that one because the bad news for Disney just will not stop. Because what broke just minutes ago is that the Little Mermaid producers are being sued for $191,000 by a special effects artist over onset wrist injury.
This
Now,
is
I love to see it. I love to see it.
yeah, it gets fun or sad depending on how you want to see it. A veteran special effects artist is suing for £150,000, which is valued at $191,000, over an injury sustained on set of the Disney feature The Little Mermaid at Pinewood Studios. According to the Evening Standard, model maker Christine Overs fell and broke her wrist when part of the set gave way in October of 2020. She's been working on GoldenEye, the original Dune, Aliens, and stuff like that. She did some work for Jim Henson's Creature Shop and stuff like that. And here's the thing, Overs, she is now 74 years old. So she had her whole life ahead of her. And she claims the injury disrupted the final years of her working life, as she now struggles to use the hand, and her work requires precise finger movements. She needed 5 steel pins fitted with a fixator up to her elbow to stabilize the arm. The injuries gave her ongoing wrist pain, her lawyer said. They also claimed she's left with a substantial level of disability and was unable to drive following the incident. The lawyers also accused Sandcastle of failing to provide any adequate access to the set, which they led to the claimant falling from a makeshift polystyrene step and injuring her wrist. No one is denying that she was injured on set, but Disney, of course, they have issues with the amount being requested here. The pre-trial hearing in London determined the legal cost of the trial, which will take place at later undetermined date. And Disney has not yet responded for requests at press time, meaning a few minutes ago. So this one pales in its insignificance compared to TSG and Hulu and DeSantis and Reedy Creek and what have you. But still, it just keeps on piling on, doesn't it? Now, legal mindset, Andrew, you heard the gist of the story. 74-year-old special effects artist now claims the rest of her career is ruined and is asking more than $1 million.
I bet that's the policy limit. I bet that's the insurance policy limit. Yeah, it's this is certainly, by the way, something that would be covered in insurance. I'm sure they have insurance coverage that of some form that would cover this. However, when you're talking about working conditions, you can start getting into things that, okay, is this a broader issue? Is this going to bring in regulatory oversight? Is this something that's going to be investigated? There's kind of tack on follow-up issues that can happen when you have a case, but this is something that's going to be handled like any insurance case, right? Because there's obviously, you got to expect, you have a production, you're going to have slip and falls, you're going to have trips, you're going to have accidents. That's normal. That's course of business, and every business has lawyers like myself that prepare them for these eventualities. Now, of course, if they are the result of gross negligence, of real incompetence, if there's something that's beyond the pale, think of Alec Baldwin in Rust. If someone gets shot, that's obviously not what is supposed to happen, right? So when you have an extreme scenario, that's what you might call gross negligence or wanton disregard. That can go beyond insurance. That can go into extreme levels of damages or even criminal penalties, which is what we talked about for a long time with Baldwin. So here, I don't think this is going to rise to criminality. It doesn't seem like, based on the basic facts, this is something that's going to get a criminal case started, but certainly it could get a regulatory investigation, which is a pain to deal with at a time in which they have other things to deal with.
The amount of money, though, I think Disney's just going to settle and get it out of their way.
Yeah, I usually, I said this, they usually know what the insurance policy limits are. They usually know what they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if the policy limit is $1 million and they are suing for $1 million. Very common in the industry.
What were you going to say, 6?
I didn't see $1 million in that article. I saw 191,000. Which did somebody misspeak, or does it really say $1 million?
Oh, yeah, no, I may have misspoke. $191,000. Yeah,
Okay.
I may have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even going for very much. That was my
Well,
Okay.
what I'm saying, whatever the amount is, right? Whatever the amount is, it could have been $1 million. They probably would say, okay, that's the amount we can like reasonably get under this policy, right? Based on
Yeah,
the
I don't
injuries.
think that. I mean, if she's lost the use of her hand essentially, and she can't. I mean, she's 74. I don't feel like $191,000 is that much money. I can't believe that they're not just handing her a check and saying, "Hey, sorry about your hand."
because
But
Disney
maybe
will
it's just-
make you go to that
well,
extent. That's why.
Di-
Yeah.
Disney hates white men and old women,
Well,
I guess.
And settlements.
they-
No, but Disney does not. This is something that people need to know about Disney. Their corporate policy is to not be generous in settlements. They're very strict with the amount they give out. They're very aggressive with their
And basically,
negotiating.
going to court means they'll have settled a lot less than if they just paid out normally, because then they're basically forced to whatever. Then
And accidental insurance in UK is on average at 250K. So I bet that she probably got 60 for her initial injuries, and they just want the rest
probably.
to compensate for her retirement and whatever she wants to leave to her family.
I'm just saying,
There you
yeah,
go.
Disney's just making it difficult for her. That's all.
This is the thing. You find the numbers, and thank you for that. You find the numbers, and it explains everything about the value. Everything, especially for things like car accidents. If you look at the value of the policies, you'll see, oh, what they're suing for this really weird amount. It's usually the policy.
Yeah, and this is based on an injury that happened maybe 3 years ago, and based on the article saying that she had pins and stuff put into her arm, that has already been paid for and probably covered by the normal studio insurance at the bare minimum of what it is. And now she's basically saying as a result of the fact that my body did not heal to its 100% what it was before, I think I'm owed the full amount of what the insurance policy is there. That money is technically kind of allocated in the books for Disney anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do an easy settlement on that. At least from Disney's perspective, an easy settlement. From the plaintiff's perspective, it's probably going to be a little grueling. But that's kind of par for the course, because despite movies like Rust, which is a very independent feature, a lot of studio safety practices are almost immaculate. Like, accidents happen so few given how many movies are made, that if you were having a life and death saving surgery, it'd be probably safer to do it on a Hollywood studio than it would be in a hospital.
Well, we talked about this when the Rust thing happened, right? Like, it was, outside of the Deadpool and Allman Brothers incident, there's been very few or far in between where we've had, major accidents on sets over the past few years that we could think of. We even went looking, and I think that we had to go back a ways. It was like the Crow, or that one incident.
There's
with the one
three that have been recorded to basically gross negligence, with one accident being the Crow, and then all other incidents are basically are sword related, and they're desperate attempts to try and prevent the weapon from hitting somebody, and it still hits somebody. And both actions of those were not to have been taken anyways. Those rules were already in place before the stunt performers did that. But one guy fell from a horse and tried to throw his sword away so he wouldn't land on it, and he still landed on it.
Right. Well, and that's just it. I mean, these accidents do happen from time to time, but again, I think this is just a case of Disney just trying to make it more difficult for her than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and once again, you'd have to prove that there's something that they're deviating from the industry standard, and actually having a high industry standard. And if they deviated below that standard, that could be pretty clear proof of negligence, right? Because once you've established an industry standard, if you fall below that, right, if you set a high bar, you've got to meet the high bar. So that's where they could be just an easy case of negligence. But in Disney's case, they'll just settle it. They'll just say, "Here's your money, go away." Right? We're paying you the policy limit. We're paying you the limit of the coverage. Just go. Right? You're done here. And I think that's the most reasonable outcome.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There, you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe, and join us.